What up, YouTube? It has been a little while. I'm just trying to find the angle I like for this. This one feels a little bit too try-hardy for me. I feel like I'm trying to show off that I'm actually doing something. Of course, we have this angle, but then that actually prevents me from actually doing something. Here we have an actual garden gnome. So I think we're just gonna go here because I am actually doing something, but I wanted to, I guess, make a video today and just kind of talk about the day. So I've seen a lot of people talking today. I've seen a lot of people talking across social media, making their posts, making their comments about Charlie Kirk, what happened yesterday, all that. And I just want to make this video to kind of give my 2 cents for a minute. So let's say the obvious part up front. Today is September 11th, 2025. Of course, we all know what September 11th was. Most of us, although, a fair few adults now don't even really remember the day, and that's crazy. But most of us remember September 11th, 2001. We remember the world before that. It seemed like we had a little bit more freedom, a little bit more peace, a little bit more love in the world. And we remember when that changed. I remember being in school, going to band class and all that changing. So it's, today already has a huge statement and a huge thing that we kind of reflect on, or should be reflecting on every year anyway. And then yesterday happened. So obviously the events of September 10th, 2025 were horrendous. I mean, a lot of people have spoken out with their opinion, their take, their stance on Charlie Kirk and what happened in Utah. Let's not forget there was also a shooting in Colorado. Tragic day, in so many ways. But here's the thing. A lot of people are going to let this moment kind of pass and not point out what it really is. And yesterday needs to be a wake-up call for America. I mean, we are at a point, and we have been at this point for a long time, where the divisiveness between the left and right in America, the divisiveness between, conservative, liberal, progressive, traditional, Christian, non-Christian, it's reaching a boiling point in America, and we can't just not speak on what's going on. The fact that there are people in this country that are celebrating the death of a man who stood for free speech, stood for political debate, stood for open lines of communication, that is amazing. The fact that the man would be assassinated on that platform is just mind-blowing to me in the first place. But to take that a step further, we have a situation where this man was killed, and there are people who don't think that that was a bad thing. The man was a father. The man was a husband. If nothing else, the man left a family without their head of their home, without the male role model in that house. You want to talk about statistics? Let's talk about how most children grow up today with a lot of the issues that they have because they don't have a male role model in their home. They don't have that traditional head of their household to keep the moral compass in that household straight. At the onset, I think it's appalling to me to see so many people are cheering for that alone, cheering for a woman being made a widow, some children being made fatherless, let alone the fact that a man was murdered. And what did he ever do? What did Charlie Kirk ever do? He stood for free speech. He encouraged people to have open civil discourse, debate about their beliefs, their different takes. And you can cheer for that. I think for me, that's disappointment number one. But then it goes further, man, because, growing up, we were always told not to speak ill of the dead, period, point blank. I've seen that point made a few times, and I think that's a valid point. But the more valid point, and part of why I wanted to make this video, is it's become apparent to me, and I think it's become apparent to a lot of people, we're no longer at a point where we can just idly sit and see the world just play out. And the point that I mean by that is there are good and evil forces at work in this world right now. And, you know, to a certain extent, when you see evil and don't speak on evil, you become complicit. Now, anyone who knows me, knows my politics, knows where I stand politically. You know that I'm a pretty outspoken libertarian. I'm a conservative, libertarian constitutionalist, if I were to break my exact political views all the way down for anybody who understands how those three would play together. And here's the thing, guys, this is no longer a world where we're looking at right versus left. We're not looking at conservative versus liberal ideology. We are looking at situations of good versus evil. It is absolutely evil. It is deplorable. It is reprehensible to even consider that this could have been a good thing. It's not even a second thought situation. This was not good. This was not a situation where somebody who may have deserved it, he didn't deserve it. Nobody deserves that. For speaking his mind, there are people out here who feel that he deserved to be murdered. That's crazy. I have a lot of friends who come from both sides of the political aisle, so to speak. I have a lot of Republican friends. I have a lot of Democrat friends. I have a lot of centrist friends. I have a lot of friends who are libertarian minded. I have a lot of friends from all different walks of life. And I usually try to do a good job of not attacking anyone purely based on their beliefs, because I firmly have always held the view, I can understand how someone would agree with socialism. I can understand how someone would agree with, you know, certain tenets of the Democratic platform. I can understand how you would align with something I don't align with, because I understand empathy. But the problem that we line up into now is that people in general are not willing to accept that we can have differences in opinion. If we could accept that there were differences in opinion, Charlie Kirk would not have been assassinated. That's literally the platform that he stood on. And the thing that blows my mind, and I had mentioned this in a post on Instagram, but I really want to make sure that I'm posting this everywhere that I have the reach to post this, because it's something that I don't feel like we can ignore anymore. Everyone is going to clamor to say we need gun bans, we need gun bans. Sensible gun owners don't kill people for having a different opinion than them. And the reality of the situation here is gun bans would not have prevented this. This was on a university campus. I haven't looked up UVU, but I'm willing to bet if you look up the university policy, Utah Valley University is probably a gun-free zone, just like every other university and school is. There's a reason these events keep happening in gun-free zones. Good guys who care about the rules, they care about the policy, will not carry their gun into this gun-free zone. Bad guys see a lot of easy targets because there's no one equipped to defend themselves in this situation. The problem is not having too many guns. The problem is not having enough guns. If a killer or, potential killer walks into an environment, situation, what have you, where they see 100 gun owners who they know have guns, they're going to be less likely to act in an irrational manner, versus if they know that nobody is armed in an area, that's almost a green light for them to go ahead and do whatever they want to do. That's why I try to encourage everyone that I know personally to carry, whether it's open carry, concealed carry. If you need a permit in your state, get one. If it's constitutional in your state, please carry. Carry something, because the more responsible, now, if you're a responsible gun owner, if you understand guns, if you're afraid of them, don't carry. But we need more responsible gun owners carrying guns everywhere to make sure that less irresponsible bad guys are going to have free agency to do whatever they want. The most important thing that we could really look at is, how do we combat mental health issues in America? And I don't have a great answer to that. I know that we should encourage people to move away from whatever mental disability they have going on in their life that would compel them to do things like this. But the problem that we get to, and this is where apparently a lot of people have a real problem, the problem that we get to in America is that we have one side of the political space which encourages people with mental illness to continue in their mental illness, to wallow in their mental illness. Now you can look at that as what it is, or you can, say, no, we're just accepting people. If you're accepting someone to embrace a reality that is not the objective reality, you are encouraging someone to perpetuate a delusion. Period, point blank. One side of the political space currently wants to see people overcome that, move away from that, or at least look at it as what it is. You are free to live your life the way that you want to live your life, comfortable and happy, and seeking whatever pulls you fulfillment, so long as that does not impact another individual's free agency to do the same. However, when you set up a situation where someone's delusion is a reality, everyone has their own truth and their own reality, and everyone around them must accept that truth and that reality, you are setting up a circumstance for somebody to consider anything that they would want to do justifiable. I mean, in all reality, if everyone has to accept my perception of reality, I can perceive anything that I want as acceptable and expect everyone to fall in line with that. However you look at it, that is not helpful to the situation that we're currently discussing. And I've seen the argument made that guns were objectively created to end life, and they were created to end life. That is the only function that guns really have, is to end a life. And I've seen that made as a distinction between guns, knives, whatever, any other device that may be used to kill someone. That's not a fair distinction. That would be a fair distinction at the onset if we were saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't create that gun because that only serves the function to kill someone. Doesn't matter. Guns exist. Good guys will get them, bad guys will get them. People will 3D print them. Someone will go make a potato gun, they'll make a pop gun. Guns are an inevitable reality now, so we can't look at the onset. We can't look at the reason they were created. We have to look at the function they serve and the purpose and outcome they can obtain. Guns exist. Guns will continue to exist. Guns will continue to be 3D printed if they are banned. For better or worse, good or bad, guns are an objective part of our reality, and they always will be. That means when we come to legislation, that means when we come to safe handling, that means when we come to the constraints that we put ourselves in as a society, we have to account for guns continuing to exist in one form or another. If guns are going to exist, which they are, then we know that bad guys are going to have access to guns. If people want a gun, it is efficient at doing what they are trying to do, then they are going to get a gun. So how do we combat that? Well, we can ban guns, but then that only applies to lawful citizens. That only applies to good guys. There are already guns available. We can't get rid of them all. So we have to educate ourselves, educate society, educate our children, educate our neighbors, educate everyone that we can on the proper and safe use of guns. Which leads us to the other side of the equation, which would be the mental health state. The mental health argument, the mental health factor. We have to support and actually help people cure mental health. We can't just encourage people. You don't encourage someone with cancer just to continue devolving until their cancer goes away. You encourage them to go get chemotherapy. You encourage them to do things which may cure their cancer. You don't encourage them to take hormones that are going to make their cancer worse. You don't encourage them to eat foods with carcinogens. You don't encourage them to perpetuate the problem, and that's the problem that we're running into, is instead of curing mental health in America, we're encouraging people to live with it and to embrace it and to move forward with it and to live their truth. It's not their truth. It's their truth for now. It's a truth that needs to be faced for what it is. It doesn't have to be everyone's truth. It is not objective reality. Last thing I'm going to say on that tone is it's clear to see that the left in America is the more violent of the two groups. I mean, there are a handful of cases you can throw out over the past 10 years where conservatives have violently carried out X, Y, and Z, whatever. However, the vast majority of cases we see, just like this one, are carried out by the left. The same people clamoring to ban guns are the same people who cannot control themselves around guns. I don't get to tell you that you can't have chocolate cake because I can't control myself around chocolate cake. It's just like letting diabetics set the menu for the lunch line. You don't do that. everyone is not having their diet restricted based on your factors. September 11th is a dark day in our nation's history. It absolutely is. And we should never forget what happened on that day. We should never forget the unity that we had as a country. We should never forget how we as a country woke up and moved forward and united. And this year especially, we should use this opportunity to wake up, unite, and come together once again to really understand that the current battle that we're facing, it's not left versus right. It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's good versus evil. And if you see evil being perpetuated in the world, you have a responsibility to stand against evil unless you become complicit in that evil. Hope everybody has a somber day today. It's not a happy holiday, but it's one that I hope we embrace for what it is and really remember the legacy that it carries. I hope that we take this opportunity to add to that legacy. Wake up today, America. Let's take our country back. Let's actually unify, and let's realize, let's call that act yesterday for what it was. It was evil. You don't have to have loved everything that Charlie Kirk stood for as a person to understand that the act of murdering a man was evil. An act of murdering a man for having a different opinion and encouraging people to speak out and have civil discourse about their differences in opinion. We absolutely should speak and engage in civil debate. Not everybody who watches this, not everybody who likes me is going to agree with this. I don't expect them to, and I wouldn't want them to. I wouldn't want to surround myself only with people who agree with me. But because they disagree, does that give them a reason to make my child fatherless, to make my wife a widow? It absolutely doesn't. So I hope we all can actually come to a point where we recognize this situation for what it is, call it for what it is, embrace this, and actually seek to have what Charlie Kirk wanted. I truly believe that history will see Charlie Kirk as a martyr. I hope he rests in peace. My prayers are going out to his family, and I hope that we can all come to a point where we can recognize this situation for what it is and truly get rid of the people who are perpetuating this evil in this country. Yes, I absolutely think that the political left in America perpetuates these instances. I think that it's disgusting, and I'm tired of pretending that it's not owned by one side of the political space in this country. The right has its fair amount of faults, but this is not one of them. I hope you guys have a good day. God bless you guys. Remember that family. Remember the family of the girl on the subway in Charlotte, North Carolina, and just remember the families of those schools, those children in those schools. It's a dark time in America, but hopefully this is the time that we take to actually wake up and see what's going on in our country. We will not be infiltrated or taken away. America is too great for that inevitability outcome, whatever. You don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm doing this on my phone, so I won't be editing this video. That's why I've been kind of trying to stop and gather my thoughts before I come with another burst. But America's too good for this outcome. We have the American spirit. We have the spirit that our forefathers bled and died for. And we will rebound. We will come together, and we will grow and overcome this. I love you guys. God bless you, and see you guys next time.